Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. I'm glad I have had this game sitting on my PS3 for years, especially since it is still not available for purchase since it was removed back in 2014. But Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, is still a great side-scrolling brawler. The art is top-notch, and fighting feels fine once you get used to it, and is a great way to pass the time with friends beating up people in Canada for their change. Come on, things are getting more expensive up here. That our dollar is not recovering. Dungeons & Dragons, Chronicles of Astara. I'm not much of a Dungeons & Dragons fan, but you don't have to be when you're playing Chronicles of Astara. It's a collection of the two beat-em-up arcade games, Tower of Doom and Shadow of Astara, and they are incredibly well done. For the last little while, I've been playing at least one arcade game and judging how fair they are. For instance, in 2016, I played and beat Time Crisis 4, and found it to be pretty decent in that department with the ability to duck into cover, with the trademark trade-off of the series where you only have a certain amount of time to finish the section of the level. Chronicles of Astara offers you several ways of making sure of spending less credits, including potions, increasing your arsenal of weapons, and if you play a class that uses spells, they can increase your strength as you progress through the game. The replayability of the game is incredible, encouraging multiple playthroughs of an arcade game due to several paths you can go down, allowing you to choose how your adventure goes leading up to the final boss. For instance, do you go the long way around the mountain, or do you find the giant dragon in the cave meant to eat all of your credits? You decide! The collection also adds replayability by making goals for you to achieve in the sidebars, encouraging several playthroughs of both games with all of the characters available to you. And since this is a fun game, I didn't mind. I could probably go back and play some more if I wanted to. And if you want more information and gushing about the D&D perspective of these games, and these points communicated better, watch Pro Jared's video of Tower of Doom he did a few years ago. Again, really great game. Mario Golf World Tour. There was a good, solid month of me playing Mario Golf World Tour this year. The final reward I claimed before the Club Nintendo went away. I did not expect much going into it, and I had not played a Mario Golf game since the N64, and even then I barely played it. Somehow I played it for a straight month anyway. There is just so much to do in World Tour, and that doesn't even include the DLC that you can get for additional courses and characters. So, what is there to do in World Tour? Well, for starters, there is sinking your teeth into all the courses immediately available to you, getting good at them, getting familiar with the mechanics of how to maximize your drive length, and taking advantage of the course layouts. And then, once you've done that, take on the steady amount of challenges that shake up the courses in order to get star coins and eventually moon coins. They can force you to change up the characters you use, getting you out of your comfort zone that you develop yourself, and make you more rounded in what you're really capable of in the game. Did I mention this is only one half of the game as well? You also have the Castle Club, where your me takes on challenges and tournaments and additional courses. And once you get first place in all 3 of the additional courses, you actually get some credits. There's actually an end to this. No, there isn't. Because once that's done, you truly get to challenge yourself in the one-on-one putt challenge, where you first play on the front 9 and then all 18. And if you fail once during the run, you're kicked out and you have to start all over again. This made World Tour one of the games I played this year where I had to personally stop and pause mid-course because my heart was pounding so hard and I was shaking because I wanted to succeed in this run, and I wasn't going to screw it up. If that is not enough of a challenge, there is also all of the costumes you can unlock through completing certain requirements. It's like achievements, but Nintendo, the way they do things. For instance, the propeller costume is what you get when you complete the 18-hole one-on-one putt challenge. And if that is not enough, there are the assortment of online tournaments you can enter for trophies and prizes to purchase more gear. Now, I know that the game is several years old, but there is still a decent amount of people playing to compete against, and eventually you can compete in the World Championships. And if someone like me can get into the top 100 in the world, you can too. Yes, it doesn't mean much because it was 2017 and nobody really cares at that point. But still, feels really, really good. Especially starting from nothing. So, despite this game being just golf on the surface, I just babbled on about investing a month of time into this game. Honestly, I think that a new Mario Golf game should be coming soon to the Switch. Maybe 2019? To help revitalize the series, if anything. But with the amount of things to do in World Tour, it is still worth the price of admission. Vanderwal Salty X. I feel pretty good about getting through a lot of my downloaded games on my 3DS in 2017, as well as in 2016, but there are certainly games that don't say very much on their own. One of these is Vanderwal Salty X, a 3D shooter on the system that is just okay. There's not much for me to say, really. Some of the boss fights are clever with how you take them down, but I'm having trouble even remembering much about it. I didn't have a bad time with it, though. Final Fantasy XIII. How did I get into playing Final Fantasy XIII? Well, after finishing Wild Arms at the beginning of the year, I realized that I had not played another RPG since then. I was specifically looking for an RPG that would not take me a whole lot of time to get through, but was from a well-known series. Still not a concrete reason for why I did play and ultimately Platinum Trophy Final Fantasy XIII, but things snowball from what you initially think is going to happen anyways. I chose Final Fantasy XIII because it is still known as the hallway RPG, with little room for exploration, side quests, or distractions from the main story. And honestly, I did not mind that. It was actually a welcoming feeling to go through a game session and truly get a feeling of how far you were in the game. That lasted for a majority of the game, until around Chapter 11, when things begin to open up to what you can do and what awaits you in the post-game, which is where Final Fantasy XIII stopped being the game I chose to play in the first place. Now, that sounds negative, I know, but I enjoyed the time I had with challenging myself against the Seath Stone missions and Titan's Trials, but you can definitely feel the game dry up by the time you are finishing up everything that you can possibly do in the game. So for all the things that have been said about Final Fantasy XIII specifically, I'll just add that your enjoyment out of the game comes from how much you know about the game before playing it, your mindset going into the game, and how much you enjoy what the game actually provides. Eventually, I'll probably play Final Fantasy XIII too, and oh boy, am I looking forward to how that is going to be. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. I never would have got this game on its own. I can be fickle with how games interest me, and a lot of WayForward's art design just bends me the wrong way, especially with gratuitous character designs, if you know what I mean. That said, I got Shantae and the Pirate's Curse out of a Humble Bundle a while back, and I must say, while I shy away from the designs and characters a little bit, WayForward puts a tremendous amount of love, passion, and refinement into their games and art design. The environments and sprite work are always beautiful to look at and interact with, and brings together what is also a solid game. I think another positive for this game is that they did a great job at explaining enough story from the previous Shantae games to bring in a complete unknown, like me, into the series. When thinking back on this game ultimately, I certainly do not think ill of it. Dantes Inferno. It's really a shame that Visceral is not around anymore, because I feel like they did a fantastic job taking Dantes Inferno and recreating it to the best of their abilities. Even looking up a lot of the marketing details and making up documentary, and providing the original material from Dante Alighieri in-game for you to read, I have great respect for this game. For those who don't know, you play as Dante in his self-insert fanfiction where he descends into hell using Death's Scythe to rescue his girlfriend Beatrice from the clutches of Lucifer himself. That's kind of the fun thing about the original author, Dante Alighieri, who wrote about not only hell, but also purgatory and heaven in 2 other works of his, making a trilogy. While the actual gameplay involves little more than action combat similar to other games that came out at that time, such as God of War 3 and Bayonetta, the design and atmosphere is where the game really stands out. If you ever get the chance to read the actual Dantes Inferno, or have an interest in medieval literature at all, I strongly recommend that you do so, and play this game alongside it. You might see how much the game tries to capture how the Inferno looks in every circle. Honestly, I'm not sure about revisiting this at a later date to truly dissect the history and go really in deep. Because there is a lot, not only in the environments themselves, but also the people you meet that you punish or absolve, tidbits that the game provides that don't really matter to the overall story, that are really interesting, and also the relics that you collect to make yourself better. Honestly, I'm kind of sitting in the boat where I really wish that a sequel was considered, but oh well, definitely not going to get it now. We can't have everything, of course. Oh, and just as an aside, the Dark Forest DLC and the Trials of St. Lucia suck. Definitely wish that was more fleshed out instead of belonging in the frozen lake of the 9th Circle of Hell. This next game is my game of the year for 2017. It's really easy to determine what your game of the year is when you only played and beat one game that came out in the same year. That game is Bye Bye Box Boy, the 3rd game in the now Box Boy trilogy. I'm trying to remember why I played this series as they came out, starting in 2015, and I think it had to do with the developer being HAL Laboratory, you know, who also makes Kirby, and that it is such a relaxing puzzle platformer that I constantly played it during my breaks at work. The Box Boy games as a whole are about guiding QB, our hero, through a myriad of puzzles in order to save the world and his friends. He does this by creating new boxes from him to be used as bridges, steps, blockers, ways to reach higher ledges, and so on. Bye Bye Box Boy changes things up by introducing the Q-Babies, characters from different planets that help QB perform new techniques, such as rocket boxes, bomb boxes, warp boxes, and boxes that he can levitate and snake around obstacles. While I found these new techniques interesting to use, they were not really used to their maximum potential in later puzzles. At least I didn't feel that way. Even though all of the Box Boy games have well over 100 puzzles apiece to them, almost 200 in some cases, puzzle mechanics felt segmented, and there was certainly not any opportunity shown to blend the mechanics together to make larger puzzles. The best of the 3 games, personally for me, was the 2nd game, Box Boy, where you were able to create 2 sets of boxes throughout the puzzles. Ultimately, this did not return in the 3rd game, which I feel was a little bit of an unfortunate setback. And the reason for that is because I found that this led to some of the most difficult puzzles that the series presented. Then again, a lot of puzzles can be circumvented a good amount if you use the right costume, unlocked through currency you get by completing puzzles, as well as unlocked if you complete the previous games. In addition, specifically to Bye Bye Box Boy, there is a small amount of amiibo support to unlock Kirby-inspired costumes. And did you know that there's actually a QB amiibo as well? Because he is absolutely adorable, and yes, I did import him because he is Japan exclusive only. So, yes, Bye Bye Box Boy. Game of the year. Highly recommended. And yeah, I have weird taste. If you enjoyed this video, clicking a button or 2 is hard, I know. But just remember to come back every so often to see if I have more videos up. My schedule for videos releasing is inconsistent, I know, and my quality is questionable at best. So I'll leave it in your hands whether or not to subscribe or like or whatever. I'll keep trying with new things and continue to improve. That's all I can do. Take care, everyone.